Welcome back. Time for the good, the bad, and the ugly. First, the good. Call him Dr. J.J. Watt, the Houston Texans star receiving an honorary degree from Baylor College of Medicine.
I've had a lot of big dreams in my life, but not even I ever dreamt I'd become a doctor one day.
Watt recognized he does such great things, raising millions of dollars for Hurricane Harvey recovery efforts.
Incredible. Congrats. Next, the bad. A car spins out of control into a gas station pump, bursting into flames. The Florida mother swerving out of the way of a truck. Her daughter is in the back seat.
Jeez.
Somebody in the car! Somebody in the car! I think somebody in the car. It's going to catch a fire in a second.
We are happy to report nobody was hurt.
Yeah. Finally, the ugly, hangry thief leaves a path of destruction in a church after stealing food from their pantry. Look at this mess. Police say the burglar left that church in Maine with 3 frozen pizzas and some ice cream. He got in through an unlocked door. He's still on the run. What a mess.
Hangry's a real thing. Happens to all of us.
It's happening right now.
Have a good day.
See you later.
If we were forced to pick a house band, right, I would actually try to make a bid on Andy Grammer. Because almost every song he has gets you going for the day, even when he doesn't use actual lyrics.
We have room for a house band right over there.
We have plenty of room.
Yeah. That's a great idea.
Right now, we have not thought about it.
We should make it like a wedding reception. A house band there, a bar over here, catered food back there.
Right. The night shows get house bands. Why can't morning shows?
Right. No, actually, have you seen our channel at night? There is no.
That's
You think Hannity's got a band?
We've had DJs.
We have had
DJs.
We have concerts.
We've been very successful.
For Ainsley's first day, we had a DJ.
Yes.
I'm going to play it back for you a little bit.
It was such a tease because I thought it was going to be like that every day. So I said yes.
Yeah.
Said yes to the job.
Right. Meanwhile, we have so much to talk about today. I know you've been watching the coverage last night, and the president had a major rally. But first things first, there's a lot going on even in New York today.
Yes.
We begin with a Fox News alert, hence the sound you just heard. All signs point to a summit.
We are just hours away from a crucial meeting between Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and a high-ranking North Korean official right here, as Brian said, in New York City.
That's right. Griff Jenkins has the latest from Washington, D.C. for us. Griff?
Good morning, guys. This is a big deal. It's the first time in 18 years that a high-ranking North Korean official travels to the U.S. And the last time, it failed to produce results. This time, the administration hopes things will be different as Kim Yong-chul, vice chairman of the North's ruling party, but known as an ex-spy in South Korea because he had a bloody hand in attacks on them. He is on his way right now to JFK. The State Department confirms that Secretary of State Pompeo is headed to New York to meet with him in the next 24 hours, as retired General Jack Keane had this to say.
Of the North Korean envoy here, something of that stature, who clearly has been at all the major negotiation points, he's obviously carrying a message. And I think likely he's trying to get the actual content of the summit back on track, that Kim Jong-un is serious about denuclearization. Whether he truly is or not remains to be seen.
Now, there was little mention from the president at last night's rally in Nashville about the summit, although he made it clear that his national security advisor had better get ready.
Great John Bolton. They think he's so nasty and so tough that I have to hold him back, okay? It's pretty great. And he's doing a great job. You better get some rest because we have some pretty good negotiations coming up.
Adding to the fast-moving developments, we're learning this morning that Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov is traveling to North Korea for talks tomorrow. What will be interesting to see also is whether or not Secretary Pompeo will make a third trip to Pyongyang between now and the expected summit. That June 12th date, not hard yet, but we shall find out soon more.
Thanks, Griff.
Thank you, Griff.
I mean, I don't see anything wrong, thanks, Griff, if they push it back a week or two just to get it ready, because there seems to be a lot of groundwork.
Well, the process, the protocol, the logistics of two countries that don't trust each other in a foreign land with, a couple of meetings to set it all up. We'll see if June 12th holds. But you're right, Brian. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, to delay it a week, I agree, to get all your ducks in a row and make sure you're on the same page. They differ on the timeline on how they're going to denuclearize North Korea.
Couple of things bother me about this. Number one, I don't love this guy coming to a mission in New York. This is the guy that did the 2014 hack on Sony,
Right,
number one.
Sony.
So we had to lift the veil. This is the third time they're meeting. I guess we don't have a choice in that if you're going to meet with an outlaw nation, this is what you have to do.
And sunk that ship in South Korea, killing almost 50 people.
Yeah, how they get away with this stuff is unbelievable. But I'm worried about this. I'm not necessarily worried, but it really ticks me off. Now Russia is weighing in. Sergei Lavrov will meet on Thursday. Will go to North Korea to meet with the North Koreans on Thursday. What could they possibly do constructive to help this process along? But of course, you can't do anything without Russia playing some type of role.
Well, they're looking at us and they're seeing us playing a role. They want to get on it too, right?
Yeah, or they want to stop it.
Or they want to throw muck in the gears.
They got two allies, Russia and China. Now, China, I understand. Russia, I guess, is a late entry in.
Well, our president's trying to push hard for peace on the peninsula, and by them sending over this guy is a strong message that we want this to happen. This is the third time he has met with Pompeo, so they know each other.
So he's pushing for peace in the peninsula. He's also pushing for 2018 and 2020, and we saw that last night in Nashville. Of course, the president holding a big rally there. Marsha Blackburn should be on the program with us as well. But he's trying to rally voters, make sure don't get complacent, and hit on some very familiar themes you're used to. Listen to the president last night in Nashville.
Do we love Nashville? Do we love Tennessee? We truly are making America great again. Look at all those hats. Our country is respected again all over the world. No more apologies. Marsha's very liberal Democrat opponent, Phil Bredesen. I never heard of this guy. Who is he? Who is he? He's a tool of Chuck Schumer and, of course, the MS-13 lover, Nancy Pelosi. They're more interested in taking care of criminals than they are in taking care of you. So how do you like the fact they had people infiltrating our campaign? Can you imagine? Can you imagine? We are coming up with great health care. Our Secretary of Labor is coming out with a plan in 2 weeks. We are taking back our country. We're returning the power back to our great American patriots.
So this is a concern for the Republicans. They are worried about Arizona, the Senate seat there with Jeff Flake. They are worried about this seat here in Tennessee because it does not help that Bob Corker and Phil Bredesen are friends. And even though they're Democrat and Republicans, and if it really gives he gave a lukewarm endorsement to Marsha Blackburn, how about I'll vote for the Republican, but he said she's going to have a tough time. They're in a flat-footed tie right now in early polling in Tennessee.
He did have her up on stage last night, and she said, I'm going to take Nashville's values to Washington. And that, as a Southerner, that really hits home. I thought that was a smart line. She's definitely going to be on our show a little later, and we'll talk to her about that.
That's a challenge for Democrats in Nashville is, are they bringing Nashville values to Washington, or are they with the resistance and the Democrats who still haven't found a message? And the president does a nice job saying, you want a border or you want a borderless world? You want sanctuary cities? Are you for tax cuts? All the kneeling and the cultural side. He still draws a very effective contrast with Democrats that still really don't know what to deal with.
And for Marsha Blackburn, she was one of the first ones on the Trump train, which was very hard. There's a lot of friends that she had were running for president, and there was something about President Trump that she liked all along. And one thing was impressive about her, she played a major role in Mitt Romney when Mitt Romney had the nomination. And I watched her running things at the convention while looking after her grandchildren. So you see the grandmom, you see the mom, you see the person, you see the congresswoman who's always on a mission, been strong on her values. I think she feels as though, she's perfect for this spot.
Well, he talked about so many issues, the economy, MS-13, that Nancy loves MS-13. And then he talked about the wall, and he said, we got $1.6 billion for the wall. He said, San Diego, they were tired of people walking across the border and into their country. Listen.
In the end, Mexico's going to pay for the wall. I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you. All right? I don't want to cause any problem. But in the end, Mexico's paying for the wall. They make all of this money, and they do absolutely nothing to stop people from going through Mexico, from Honduras and all these other countries, the caravan, all of this stuff. They do nothing to help us. Nothing.
Yeah, I mean, basically, the Mexican government is in a, Mexico is actually in the middle of a presidential race. So Nieto's got to look tough, and the opponent's got to look strong. So Enrique Peña Nieto, who's the current president right now, who tweeted this out right away. President Trump, no, Mexico will never pay for a wall, not now, not ever. Sincerely, Mexico, all of us.
Sincerely.
Mexico, all of us. So here's the thing. NAFTA's being renegotiated. There are different fees. That's the way it's going to come out eventually when it comes to who's going to cross and who's not.
Ways to do it. Ultimately, Congress has been obstinate as well.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens.
Send us your comments and let us know what you thought about the rally last night, if you watched it, or what you thought about some of those clips we just showed. And let's hand it over to Jillian, who has some headlines for us.
That's right. Good Wednesday morning to you at home as well. We have a Fox News alert, so let's get right to that. Right now, people in North Carolina are being told to get out as a dam teeters on the brink of failure.
Extreme flooding. Downtown Old Fort, North Carolina.
Flash flooding from historic rain causing water to spill over the walls of the Lake Tahoma Dam. And sad news out of Ellicott City, Maryland, where the body of missing guardsman Edison Herman has been found. He was swept away while trying to help rescue a woman in historic flooding there. Missouri Governor Eric Greitens is stepping down amid scandal.
Today, I am announcing that I will resign as governor of Missouri, effective Friday, June 1st at 5 p.m.
He was facing impeachment after being charged with invasion of privacy stemming from an affair he had before becoming governor. That charge was dismissed, but now there's new questions on if he violated campaign finance laws. Lieutenant Governor Mike Parsons should be sworn in on Friday. Hours after ABC canceled her show over a racist tweet, Roseanne Barr is back on Twitter apologizing, writing, quote, "Guys, I did something unforgivable, so do not defend me. It was 2 a.m. I was ambient tweeting. It was Memorial Day too. I went too far and do not want it defended. It was egregious and defensible. I made a mistake. I wish I hadn't, but don't defend it, please. Thank you." The comedian slammed for a joke aimed at former Obama aide Valerie Jarrett. The conservative charged sitcom reboot had seen record ratings. Let's look at your headlines, and I know a lot of people still talking about that news from yesterday.
Yeah, thanks, Jillian.
Thank you, Jillian.
People were talking about that. Then there was 2 networks who blew out and had a full-out like race all-night show. I think Roseanne I thought one of her tweets was right, was real accurate. Don't worry about me. What about the hundreds of people that worked on this show?
Well,
they're all out of a job today.
Well, she should have thought about that before she tweeted. They made the right decision. They had no choice. Kudos to ABC for doing that. No, we won't defend her. Will we forgive her? As a Christian, yes. Should she have said that? Absolutely not. It was offensive.
You know, her comments were indefensible. They were wrong. There's no doubt about that. But I watched it over Twitter as well. Watching the PC mob defend reinforces what a double standard world we live in. You know, ABC showed a lot of courage putting that program on the show in the first place. And then they kind of ran away at first chance. I mean, folks on the left have said far worse about Trump to almost no consequence. Again, not defensible. Will not defend what Roseanne said. But I'm for free speech. I don't love the mob mentality that happens in these moments, sort of sanctimonious. We lose a great show with high ratings. Maybe an apology should be good enough sometimes. But I get executives make decisions. These are private companies. We live in a free world. It is what it is.
The latest news, too, she said she was going to quit Twitter, but then she was tweeting last night saying it was because of Ambien. She made those comments Memorial Day weekend, and she was on Ambien.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is Valerie Jarrett was great of her to accept the apology, but I thought it was wrong of her to point at Donald Trump. She says it comes from the top. Trump bears some responsibility for the racist tweet from the comedian. What does Donald Trump have to do with it? Number one, I don't know. He did call her to say, thanks for depicting an American family that is pro-Trump, which a lot of working class families are. Yeah. But as far as I know, there's no link to President Trump.
No. Weigh in on this. Let us know what you think at home.
All right, 13 minutes after the hour. President Trump rallying against Robert Mueller and his, quote, 13 angry Democrats. But our next guest says they aren't just angry, they're worse.
Plus, is Bernie Sanders ready to run in 2020? His former campaign manager just dropped the biggest clue yet. We're going to bring it to you.
campaign, never in the history of our country has something taken place like took place during this election.
Wow, and President Trump alluding to allegations the FBI placed an informant, he says spy, in his 2016 presidential campaign during his rally last night. This is the president warns the special counsel Robert Mueller and his team are, quote, meddling in the midterms by holding their probe so close to the elections. Does he have a point? Especially because it's ongoing. We don't know when it's going to come to an end. Here with some inside poster for President Trump's campaign, Adam Geller. Adam, so he talks about 13 angry Democrats who worked for Robert Mueller.
Right.
He's saying they're meddling in the midterms because his probe's not wrapping up, and we're in the summer now.
Well, here's the problem. Let's look at precedents, right? I mean, you started this investigation with two very partisan Democrats, right? In Page and Strzok, and, you know, talking about Deputy Director McCabe. So it is not really unfathomable that you can have some partisan Democrats on here who do, in fact, have some skin in the game as far as the election's concerned. It's not out of the question.
So we don't know the partisan Democrats, but judging by their tweets, they're anti-Trump. And now we know that the IG report's going to come out, and it's going to look at what Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, who are having an affair, were actually doing. They played a major role in everything in this investigation. And now we know this links back to London, not to get people confused, but that's where Papadopoulos is, and that's where he met with the informant, and that's where he met with the Australian ambassador. So this is coming full circle. But in the big picture, what does it mean for the president? It used to be bad. Now I get the sense that it's not all bad for the president.
Well, look what's happening, right? I mean, the president's job approval rating is going up. It's, you know, Real Clear average has it today at something around 47, 48%. About an 8-point jump from January.
Mueller's is going down.
Mueller's is going down. Independents and Republicans are both, you know, the support is plummeting for this thing. They're losing credibility because all this little pieces of information keep coming out.
Interesting. So here's Trey Gowdy yesterday saying, well, Liz, on this probe and this informant, it could mean a couple of things. Listen.
It was President Trump himself who said, number one, I didn't collude with Russia, but if anyone connected with my campaign did, I want the FBI to find that out. I am even more convinced that the FBI did exactly what my fellow citizens would want them to do when they got the information they got, and that it has nothing to do with Donald Trump.
Because the people around him were periphery. He never even met Carter Page.
Right.
So that's their problem, not his.
Yeah, I completely agree, and that appears to be exactly what's going on. There's peripheral players, and quite frankly, in the grand scheme of things, the Obama Justice Department, the Obama FBI sending in spies, not a good look for the Democrats.
It didn't help in the long run. It actually helped Bill Clinton when it looked like he was being unjustly hit. He ended up with 6% approval rate. Maybe the same thing's happening again.
That's right.
Adam, thanks. Fascinating.
Thank you.
All right, straight ahead. President Trump warning Republicans, don't get complacent for the midterms. Who should be worried more, the GOP or the Democrats? We're going to debate that as we get set for the summer heat and where politics never ends. Fox and Friends continues in just a moment.
We are back with a Fox News alert. He yelled Allahu Akbar as he murdered 3 people, including 2 female cops in Belgium. Now we know he was on a 48-hour leave from prison. Benjamin Herman was even on a police watch list. Police shot and killed him during the attack. Also breaking, things calming down on the Gaza Strip after Israeli fighter jets strike dozens of Hamas targets. The move overnight coming after Palestinians, led by Hamas, launched their heaviest attack in 4 years. After weeks of mass protests and violence along the Gaza border. A live report from Israel coming up in our next hour. Ainsley?
Thank you, Pete. Tennessee voters turning up in droves to the rally last night, but President Trump still had a strong warning.
In November, we will reverse a trend. When you win the presidency, for some reason, you always end up losing the House. You get complacent. You win. And now you sit back and you relax. That's the worst thing can happen. Because all of a sudden you have another election.
So who should be more worried headed into the midterms in about 6 months? Here to debate is GOP pollster Justin Wallen and Democratic strategist Joel Payne. Great to see you both. Thank you for being here. Justin, I'll start with you because the Democrats need to flip 23 seats, and the experts are saying that they predict they will flip anywhere between 25 and 40 seats. So knowing that information, it's going to be very tough. What do Republicans need to do?
Well, this election, just like pretty much any other, is about issues. It's not necessarily about personalities. And I think that's one of the missteps that could happen on either the Democratic or the Republican side. I tend to see it a little bit more on the Democratic side. I don't see the messaging and the themes quite as strong. Where Republicans are strong is there were two huge issues last year that needed to be pushed forward. One was tax reform. The other was health care reform. Failed with health care reform. Succeeded with tax reform. And the third issue, which is much smaller, is infrastructure. If something can be done with that, at least Republicans can claim ownership. Ownership is big right now. Action is important. We need to see that in order for Republicans to have a chance to buck the historical trend of midterms.
Joel, what do you think the reason is for the Democrat? It looks like it's in favor of the Democrats. The Democrats will take the House. When you have Nancy Pelosi saying, I want to increase your taxes, I want open borders, and supporting MS-13 or backing them, how do the Democrats win with that message?
That's a nonsense way to lay out the Democratic agenda. That's not true.
Okay, correct me then. How do you lay it out?
That's not true, but I will say this.
That is true. She has said that.
That's not, but we can agree to disagree.
Okay.
The president, it was very interesting that he was even in Tennessee last night. I've worked in politics. I worked for the former Majority Leader Harry Reid. And the idea that you're even in Tennessee as a Republican president, 3-4 months before Election Day, defending a seat that you should never have to defend, a state that the president won with over 60% of the vote in 2016, that shows you how weak he is in Tennessee. That shows you how rudderless the Republican establishment is in Tennessee because the president has put them in that position, because he's failing in Trump country. Republicans are running away from him. Marsha Blackburn is going to have to hold on for dear life to hold on to that seat. I think that's the big story from last night, that the president even had to defend that seat in Tennessee last night. That's the big story.
Well, every president's done this, right, Justin? Every president goes into areas where the races are tight to try to rally the troops.
Yeah, sure. And I think one of the funny things about what the president said last night was, who is the opponent? I've never heard of him. Well, I mean, come on, successful governor of Tennessee. Right. I mean, if the Democratic Party was going to pull together the right candidate for this race, that's the candidate. And that's why it's tight. It's not because Trump is losing support in any meaningful way for Republicans. I mean, this is ultimately about Blackburn, not necessarily about Trump.
Okay.
Yeah, his numbers are down by 10 points. So.
Well, they've been contracting ever since fall. So he is upside down. I mean, we're not pretending about anything. He is upside down, but they're contracting. And Trump is seen as relatively independent. He's not necessarily fully tied to the Republican Party. This can be a good thing and it could be a bad thing. At the end of the day, what I said earlier still stands. It's about issues, and if Blackburn owns the issues that matter to Tennessee, then she'll emerge victorious.
Justin, Joel, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, her husband was deported from the United States for being an illegal immigrant, but she is not mad.
Our laws come first. Our laws are just broken and need to be fixed. But I can't be mad at Trump for doing his job.
You bet the liberal media wasn't expecting that answer. Tomi Lahren is here to react to that coming up next. Plus, will Netflix become the Obama network? What the streaming service just said about its multi-million-dollar deal with the former First Family. But first, happy birthday to Wynonna Judd. She is 54 years old today.
How did you get to me? No one else on earth could ever hurt me, break my heart the way you do. No one else on earth was ever worth it. No one could love me like no one could.
We're not going to be a stupid country anymore. We've stopped it. We're not going to be. And you can say what you want, but I think border security and security general is a great issue for the Republican Party.
Hey, you know what? I actually think it's beyond Republicans. I think the average American wants border security. I think that's the most confusing issue on the Democrats. I think everybody really wants some security in the southern border, and they're concerned about it. They're crazy to fight the president on the border.
Well, you kept saying there are the majority of Californians don't want sanctuary cities, and then all these cities started to vote against it. Let's bring in Tomi Lahren, who lives in California. She's a Fox News contributor and can weigh in on this. Why is border security so important to the folks who do live in California, those who support the president?
Well, as Californians and other border states, we understand that we are the most vulnerable when it comes to these issues, but it's not just us. We just deal with the problem more close to home. This is an American issue. As Brian said, when I hear our president double down on border security, of course that's going to be a winning agenda item for this president and those who choose to support border security. What we really need to ask is, why are the Democrats so against it? Why do the Democrats not believe in the integrity of our borders, our laws, and protecting the American people? That's the question that needs to be asked, not why is Trump doubling down? Of course he's doubling down. This president believes in a secure border.
So, Tommy, let me ask you something. There's a push now with Senator Cory Gardner and some moderates in the House to get something done on DACA before the midterms. The thought was no one's going to do anything else because they're just going to go to the midterms with what they've done or haven't done. What do you think about that? The president may be going there and saying, give me the $25 billion for the wall, I'll give you DACA, and I'll go back for chain migration, go back for the lottery. Do you think that benefits him or us?
I think this president has said multiple times that he's willing to compromise, but I think what's most important, not only for President Trump, but for the Americans that voted for President Trump because of his promise to build the wall, is that before we start dealing with those that are already here illegally, that we have border enforcement. That has to be number one. The American people have to trust that first, and then we can have a bigger conversation about immigration reform. But I think to do it piecemeal, I think it's a mistake. I think this president needs to hold his ground on this, and the American people will stand behind him.
Which means nothing gets done, though.
It might mean that nothing gets done immediately, but I think that there's going to be pressure on the Republicans and even on the Democrats to do something, and not just piece by piece, but have real, true immigration reform for the first time in a long time. That's what the American people want. And us as voters, we have to make sure that we make that clear and we vote on that issue.
Well, Democrats, in resisting this president on the wall, have tried to characterize his policies as inhumane, which means when a photo surfaced of caged migrants just a couple of days ago, they went over the edge. Jon Favreau, former speechwriter for President Obama, tweeted, "This is happening right now, and the only debate that matters is how we force our government to get these kids back." Children in cages. As humane kids in cages, and it's got to be Donald Trump. Turns out, oops, these photos are from 2014 when Barack Obama was president.
Well, it turns out that many on the other side are not concerned with the truth so long as they can attack President Trump. This was a great misstep on their part, and it just goes to show that the level of partisan politics in this country has reached such an extreme level that the truth really doesn't matter anymore. You have an image, you circulate it, it's what President Trump calls fake news. It looks pretty bad for them. And moving forward, I hope that as Democrats and Republicans, we can do what's right and we can stand for our beliefs and not just pick the side of who we voted for or our partisan line. That's not what this country is based on.
All right. Well, mainstream media heard the story about Cindy Garcia's husband of 15 years. He was deported back to Mexico. Mainstream media runs with it and says family broken up, husband sent back to Mexico. This is inhumane. This is wrong. Listen to the wife being interviewed. And I don't think mainstream media was expecting how calm she was and her lack of animosity. Listen.
I am not upset at our government due to the fact that I am a U.S. citizen and that our laws come first. Our laws are just broken and need to be fixed. But I can't be mad at Trump for doing his job, because that is his job, to protect us as U.S. citizens from criminals.
Oops, I never expected that answer. If you're on CNN, you don't expect that answer, do you?
Of course you don't, but I think this just goes to show that legal immigrants and even family members of illegal immigrants also believe in border security. There's a reason people come over to this country and they want to live the American dream. It's not just for the opportunities that we have, but it's for the safety that we promise our citizens. So legal immigrants look at our border and they want it to be secure as well. That's why they live in this country. In part, is so that they can feel safe and secure. And there is not an American out there that doesn't believe we need immigration reform. She was exactly right. It's heartbreaking to see families broken up like this. this. But the fact that she appreciates our country and our rule of law speaks a lot to the character of this person.
But Tommy, it's amazing. They say about 70% of immigration reform we all agree on. It's the 30% with the border wall and DACA and the illegals here already, which stops the whole process. We keep the couples together, those people that marry somebody in the, from another country. All that stuff just takes too long and is too costly. The line is too long for people to do it legally, but we all got hung up on the stuff we don't agree on. Tommy, thanks so much.
Thanks, Tommy.
Appreciate
Well, a lot of these Democrats did agree on it. Remember back in the day, and then now that President Trump's in office and he wants it, they don't want the wall anymore.
And there's also lots of talk about border security. That means different things to different people.
That's true.
Right.
As
Well, Harry Reid was the one against the chain migration, said how outrageous it was. There's video of him saying that. And now the whole party, I guess, is for it. Hey, Jillian.
Hi, good morning, Brian. How are you? Ainsley, Pete, doing all right? Good to see you
Just
too.
wanted to check in.
Good morning to you at home. Let's get you caught up on some of the other news we're following, starting here. The Golden State Killer may have kept trophies from his victims. Prosecutors revealing the chilling detail during a hearing on whether to unseal arrest and search warrants. Former police officer James D'Angelo appeared in the courtroom locked up inside a cage. He is accused of at least 12 murders and dozens of rapes. Bernie Sanders might be eyeing another run for the White House.
Will voters get another chance to vote for Bernie Sanders in 2020?
Well, voters in Vermont certainly will, coming up in November. Nationally, he is considering another run for the presidency.
His campaign manager dropping that hint on C-SPAN. Sanders previously said he hadn't made up his mind yet, but would support whoever had the best chance of defeating President Trump. There you have it. Netflix defending its new multi-million-dollar deal with former President and First Lady Barack and Michelle Obama. The head of content saying, quote, "It's not the Obama network. There's no political slate to the programming." But he does admit, quote, "It's hard to argue there's not a left lean to the creative community. The Obamas will be creating entertainment programming for Netflix." This is amazing, an incredible act of generosity by a police officer, and it's caught on camera. Take a look. This cop responding to a 911 call about a homeless man in a South Carolina fast food restaurant. When he gets there, he actually buys the man a meal. A worker recording it all on her cell phone. It's not the first time this cop has gone above and beyond the call. He once went viral for this video playing catch with a group of kids. That is a good man there.
Wow.
So cute. Thank you, Jillian.
Appreciate it.
All right, 19 minutes before the top of the hour. Here's Janice Dean, who promises to do the weather, but I don't want to force you into anything you're not comfortable with.
You're wearing yellow. Does that mean lots of sunshine?
Did you notice that Brian and I actually matched today? He was wearing a yellow tie. Yeah, we took a
tweeted that out a
selfie.
while ago.
We took a selfie together. Listen, take a look at this video from Cape May, New Jersey. This is lightning striking lifeguard stand, I believe. Look at that. That's crazy. Oh my goodness. That is real video. No lifeguards were harmed during the making of this video. And that's why they say, the National Weather Service says, when thunder roars, go indoors, because we have that threat for lightning. Okay, here are your current temperatures. What was that?
I think that's a Garth Brooks song. Thunder
When lightning roars.
If not, it should be.
Garth, if you're watching, there's a new song for you.
Right,
The National Weather Service would love that, actually. Current temperatures. Are you singing, Ainsley, during my hit? This is fantastic. It's like a music video. All right, let me know, okay? Real quick, across the southeast and the Ohio and Tennessee River Valley, we have the potential for more rain. This is what was subtropical storm Alberto. Still looking at the potential for heavy rainfall and flooding. Of course, flooding is a big danger, obviously, with some of these storms. And we have the threat for severe storms, including large hail, damaging winds, and tornadoes. Here's your severe threat today for parts of the Rockies, the Plains, and the Great Lakes. Have we decided whether or not it's a Garth Brooks song?
100%.
He knows all the words.
No doubter. Of course.
How does it go?
Thunder roars, go in store.
And the lightning strikes.
Oh.
And then I don't know the next line.
Pete, do you sing?
I do sing on occasion.
I
used to sing in the
love
high school
it.
choir. Never a
Generous
solo, though.
humor,
Really?
generous singing.
School choir.
But it was important point, never a solo.
Never a soloist.
Right.
Always just in tune.
All right. It's 42 minutes after the top of the hour.
The VA says it's trying to fix a program helping our veterans get health care at home. But what else needs to be done? Our next guest served in Iraq and says one thing has to happen right now. We'll bring it to you.
And just call it puppy love. A firefighter gets a big kiss from a dog that he rescued. The story behind the video everyone is talking about this morning when Pete's not singing.
President Trump touting the recently passed VA Mission Act.
Last week, we passed new landmark legislation to give choice to our great veterans. It's going through. We're going to have it. It's going to be incredible.
Giving choice to vets is by far the biggest part of the Mission Act. But another part of that Mission Act expands the caregiver program to cover all veterans, not just post 9/11 vets. The VA says they're working to continue to improve the appeals process within that program. But what else needs to be done? Joining us now to discuss, Christopher Naiwam, a former U.S. Army police sergeant, military police sergeant, and Iraq war vet, also a Republican strategist. Chris, thanks for being here this morning. So not a lot of people know about this program. There was some controversy about expanding it or not. What do you make of the expansion, and how is VA handling it?
Sure, Pete. So, I mean, I think the expansion should definitely happen. I mean, it's always been an issue. It's expensive. It's, $1 billion. I mean, I think these vets deserve it. But ultimately, I think we need to look at the management of that program. I mean, you know this, Pete. I mean, there are veterans who have lost a leg, and then you have a recertification process where these caregivers who take care of these veterans have to come in to recertify the injuries still there. There's just a lot of management problems at the VA that are perennial. So that's the big issue still.
So in this program, as with others, the bureaucracy oftentimes gets in the way of common sense, but you also have to look out for anyone that might, or caregivers that may exploit the system as well, so you have to have safeguards.
You absolutely do, Pete. I mean, we need to root out fraud regardless of where we go, but I do think that those issues of accountability, that's why we've got to get a secretary in there. We've got to have a leader in there that can manage this bureaucracy that just tends to continue to have those problems. It's a matter of healthcare access and accountability, two biggest issues in the VA community, and both of those are still outstanding. We've got to get a grip on them.
That's right. I mean, access and accountability. Access could also mean choice. Where do you get your care and how quickly do you get it, and holding people accountable. And you're right, without a VA secretary, Robert Wilkie, there's a confirmation process to come. We reached out to VA for comment. This is what they said, the changes that are going to be made. They're issuing a new directive outlining staff responsibilities, eligibility requirements, available benefits, and procedures for this process. They've conducted mandatory staff training and implemented standardized communications and outreach materials. All sounds good, Chris, but are you confident that they're aggressively watchdogging this programming and streamlining it?
Not without a strong leader in there to manage it. I mean, you look at the caregivers out there. I mean, these are people, after the Iraq War, people finally and policymakers started looking and saying, wow, these veterans that have been critically injured, they need someone to take care of them their whole life. We need to get those folks health care and support so that they're not exhausted. They can keep caring for those veterans. But the VA program, throwing these people out, throwing them in, it's just, we can't have that. We need to get a secretary in there. We need to get real reforms. You've been at the forefront of this for a long time, Pete. So, I mean, we've got to get a strong leader in there to oversee this, or it's going to probably fail and continue to have problems.
Absolutely. If the bureaucracy is left to its own devices, it can squash good programs and also elevate bad ones. And with choice being the center of what this president wants, you need a leader to drive that in as well. Chris, thanks for your time this morning. Appreciate it.
You bet, Pete. Thanks.
You got it. All right. Well, we are one step closer to getting answers about Hillary Clinton's emails. Who just got called to testify on Capitol Hill? We're going to bring that to you. Plus, President Trump is a big fan of the NFL's new anthem policy, but one player is inviting him to the locker room to discuss the controversy. Carly Shimkus has the online reaction and what else is trending out there in the World Wide Web. Coming up next.
We have respect for our great American flag, and we always proudly stand for our national anthem.
President Trump stressing his stance on the anthem, this on the heels of an invitation from Giants linebacker Mark Herzlich, who writes, I would love Trump to come down here and hang out in our locker room and see what locker room talk's really about.
I wonder what he means by that. Here with some responses lighting up social media is Fox News 24/7 reporter. I never met her in person. It's the first time, Carly Shimkus.
Well,
yeah, and
good to meet you. Hello. How are you? Hey, Carly. So President Trump just received a pretty interesting invitation to come on down to the Giants locker room and talk about the national anthem protest with players in person. Now, Herzlich says he wants the president to see that the national anthem protest is really all about players wanting to create a unity with law enforcement, which is an interesting spin on things. So should the president, take him up on this invitation? A lot of
varying responses coming in on social media. Let's get to some of those. Travis says, shouldn't he be inviting Goodell to this meeting? This isn't a First Amendment issue. It's an issue with his job's stance on kneeling during the anthem. And another Twitter user says maybe the players should discuss it with all the fans they're offending. So Herzlich says that the football players want unity with law enforcement, but many say that kneeling during the anthem and wearing police officer as pig socks, the way Colin Kaepernick did a few years ago, doesn't really accomplish that.
They have one guy that always sits in not kneels, but sits. It's Olivia Vernon. So I don't know if he's going to change his stance.
This year, for sure.
See if he goes.
Well, there were a couple of wins in Game 7 in the NBA.
Yeah, keeping with the sports theme.
Fan, gear.
That's right.
There was a little flaw.
So some NBA final hat. There was a little design flaw here that actually makes it look. Can you see? It looks like they actually see 2018 NRA Finals because the team's logo is sort of covering up the B. So what do you guys think? Will this help or hurt sales?
You're right. You can
I'm
see
not
it there.
so sure. Yeah.
I just know this: for the third straight year, the same teams are playing each other in the final. You have to go through all this to get the same
Do you
teams
think that
again.
the ratings are going to go down because of this, or is it going to affect the ratings at all?
I think the ratings have been really good, and I just think that even though Cleveland's a prohibitive underdog, LeBron James will get people to watch.
Absolutely.
All right, the cutest video of the day is this dog and the firefighter.
This is really cute. So this happened in Maine. A firefighter received the cutest thank you ever after rescuing a dog who got stuck on a roof. That is Fire Captain Jeff Newfall, who got some big wet doggy kisses after joining the dog up there on the roof. Can you imagine coming home and seeing your dog on the roof? How the heck did that happen?
How about this? Well, volunteer firefighters are asked to do everything.
I know.
Now they're on the small roof saving a small dog.
Cats out of trees
Yeah.
and dogs on roofs.
Yeah, but you know what that is? That is a nice part of your day, right? Getting
That's true.
some cute little doggy kisses.
Carly Shimkus will be all over the channel and on Sirius 115. Thanks, Carly.
Did you enjoy meeting her?
I enjoyed meeting her.
Oh, this is good.
Coming up straight ahead, a huge show. When, for example, Kevin McCarthy will be here live, playing the middle position. Newt Gingrich center forward, and Marsha Blackburn
Right field.
playing outside right.